wish he knew the pain that he was going to cause us by that decision he made.
He wasn't alone. He thought he was. There was friends, cousins, aunts, uncles that just will never get, the chance to tell him that again.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda Hill.
And I'm Pat Callahan. Tonight, News Center Maine is doing something we've never done before. We're dedicating the entire 6 o'clock newscast to just one issue, the increasing incidence of suicide in Maine.
Over the past decade, the suicide rate here in Maine, already about 20% above the national average, has continued to climb. In fact, every year, about 10 times more people in Maine die by suicide than are killed by someone else. They often leave family and friends wondering, is there something I could have said, could have done to help them?
In this half hour, we will attempt to answer some of those questions and help break the stigma associated with suicide by having open and honest conversations about it, beginning with one of our own.
You know Sam Rogers as a reporter and anchor here at News Center Maine. His brother Jacob took his own life just a few months ago. He was 20 years old.
Sam recently sat down with Chris Costa to talk about his brother and the effect that Jake's suicide had on his family and himself.
Tell me about your brother, because I don't know him at all.
Yeah, so I think a big thing that a lot of people don't know is he was adopted. He's been part of our family literally since day one.
Were you guys close?
Honestly, no. It was really hard growing up just because and I can totally see it now, looking back, but when he first kind of realized he was adopted, the issue of, why didn't my birth parents want me? So I think that kind of really strained our relationship, just because when he, was learning about that 8, 9, 10 years old, like bringing it up, I was like, okay, well, you're so loved by our parents. Like, I never really kind of got where he was coming from. So, like, really up until recently, it was not like this close, like, buddy-buddy relationship.
Everybody that experiences this handles it in a different way and at different times and different intervals of how they kind of process this. Where are you in processing your brother's death?
I am still very frustrated because I was never reached out to. I've been asked by multiple people, like, did you spot any red flags, warnings? And it's like, no, because when we talked, it was all positive. And I think I'm frustrated at the fact that he didn't reach out to me. I'm frustrated at I didn't reach out to him to check in. And I think it's just frustration both ways. Like, how did we not connect and talk about this? And at the same time, just more frustrated the fact that he was hiding it so well. Just because the last time we talked, he got a new job. He was happy about it, was, seeing a girl. He said he loved me over the phone. The next phone call I got was my mom telling me that he had killed himself. So it just came out of nowhere. So I think frustration is still, like, I'm thinking about it now, and honestly, my blood just kind of boils because I get frustrated in what he made our parents go through. And, I just think, just knowing so many parents now, it's just like, I just can't stop thinking about, like, what they would have to go through. I'm sorry. Just because they hide it so well. Not hide it, but are just so strong, so I kind of have to take that strength from them. But yeah, I'm just so pissed, honestly. Like, I don't want to go through this. Like, no one should have to, which is like why I want to talk to you, want to talk to everybody about it. Yeah, I'm just really frustrated more than anything. He wasn't alone. He thought he was. But and it wasn't just me, my mom, and dad. There was friends, cousins, aunts, uncles that just will never get, the chance to tell him that again.
You said you felt like he was hiding it. Why does that part make you frustrated?
You know, I think, again, just because we were kind of getting back to that point where, you know, brothers should be able to kind of tell each other anything. And, you know, obviously we weren't at that point yet, but I think if, you know, I've been asked, like, again, like, if there's any red flags, I was like, if I saw, like, a red flag, like, I would have done something. And I never had, like, again, like, I thought everything was going on the up. Like, that kid had a brutal childhood with, you know, mental kind of health issues, you know, not really knowing his true sense in the world, and it just looked like it was on the way up. And I just
You felt like he was improving?
yeah. And but from behind the scenes, obviously it was the opposite. And you know, this isn't, you know, and again, just for clarity, he was seeing a professional therapist and had a one-on-one life mentor for like 8 years. This isn't someone that was dealing with this alone. So I assumed wrongly that he had the outlets to talk about it. I'm sure he did. And, you know, I think while that's all great, clearly it wasn't enough. You know, I think when I'm looking up at the sky or whatever, or thinking about it like alone, like that's like the only thing, if like I'm picturing like the next time that I see him again, I'm gonna probably just yell at him and be like, why didn't you talk to me, dude?
What do you wish he knew?
Just how much he was loved by me, by friends, by his parents, by everybody. And I think it's so hard to feel that, I think, for anybody, especially someone who's going through depression. And I just, looking back, just not kind of giving that constant reminder, I think will always be something I think about. And on the flip side, I guess not many people can say this when talking about their loved ones, but the last thing I did say to him was, I love you. So I guess I'll have that. But again, I would rather the last thing I said to him be something different 75 years from now. But I guess for now, I'll take that.
Our thanks to Sam Rogers for sharing such a personal part of his life with us. If you are having suicidal thoughts, or if someone you know is, there is help available.
That number is at the bottom of the screen. That's your first step. It's the number to the main crisis line, 1-888-568-1112. It is a 24-hour helpline where a trained specialist will give you free and confidential support by connecting you with vital services.
And we have 2 other resources for you tonight. First, pick up your smartphone and scan this QR code. Once you do, you'll be taken to a rundown of mental health services in every county in Maine. They're not just for those thinking of suicide, but for anyone who is struggling with their mental health.
You can also use your phone to text the word HOPE to 828-6622. That will take you to the same information. Don't worry, all of this will pop up a few more times in this half hour.
In Maine, suicide is the second leading cause of death for people ages 10 to 34. And experts say our adolescents are struggling more than ever as we come off more than 2 solid years of a pandemic.
A family in Brunswick is still trying to find their way out of the crushing heartbreak of losing their son. About a year and a half ago, Jay Smith went to wake his son Spencer when his school called to say he hadn't logged into his Zoom classroom yet.
And what he found changed Jay and his wife forever. News Center Maine's Jackie Mundry shares their story.
I wish he knew the pain that he was going to cause us by that decision he made.
Spencer Smith was a student at Brunswick High School when he took his life. He wrote a note to his family explaining his decision, writing that the pandemic made him feel isolated. He missed his football team, and he didn't want to work a dead-end job for the rest of his life.
Unfortunately, when they shut down America, they shut off our kids.
His dad, Jay, spoke to me right after Spencer's death in 2020 and again last month. He says the pain never leaves.
Well, we find ourselves, we're never happy. Even when we're happy, we're still sad.
Along with the sadness comes a realization for Jay that there is so much more to life, and he wants kids and teenagers to know that.
Everything that you think is important as a teenager in high school, you realize once you're out of high school, that's not important.
Just down the road from the Smith's home in Brunswick is the Midcoast Youth Center and Skate Park.
I never met Spencer. I knew his dad. We grew up together.
Jamie Dorr runs the Youth Center and Skate Park. The skate park has been around for a while, but the Youth Center is just about 8 years old.
It was because we lost young people to suicide that we had watched grow up here at the Bath Skate Park. And it was really a call to action for me that we need to be doing more.
Dorr has been supporting young people in their mental health for years. She says she sees mental health challenges pop up all the time. She adds many kids are dealing with some level of anxiety or depression, which is why she and her team do their best to remind the kids that they are safe at the youth center and they can talk to and trust the adults there. Dorr says the kids take them up on that often.
So the first thing we do, practical wise, we offer them a glass of water, and we're in a quiet place, and we usually have 2 staff members that are there.
From there, she and her staff address the situation. They call the crisis hotline if necessary, or bring the person in need to the emergency department if they need that care. Other times they bring in parents and have really hard but important conversations. Her goal is
helping young people navigate really challenging things that we face in the world today.
Jay Smith applauds Dorr for all the work she does for kids in the community and says to any young person thinking about suicide,
Definitely not worth it. You're thinking about yourself right now, stop. Think about your family.
he says you may not feel it, but there are people who love you, and you don't even know how much they need you. He wonders if his son would have realized that. It could have changed everything, if only he knew.
How much we needed him. And how much the whole family needed him.
When someone loses a loved one to suicide, we often want to help, but that can be a tough conversation to start.
We spoke with Sarah Ash, the bereavement coordinator at the Center for Grieving Children, about how we can show someone suffering loss that we care.
One of the things that we do at the center is teach our facilitators just to listen and to not fill the space. Silence is really important. When we're speaking, the other person can't speak for themselves, can't think for themselves, can't feel for themselves, that we're taking the space when we're talking. And when they do start to talk, it's not about giving advice or giving opinions. It's just about reflecting back what you're hearing. The other thing that happens when somebody's life has been turned upside down like this is they feel the lack of control. And so when we start telling them what they should do and giving them advice, it actually takes away from them that opportunity to have a little control in their life. So to just be mindful of what we're doing when we speak.
When it comes to suicide, our kids are some of the most vulnerable, but as you just saw, those who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender are at even greater risk.
News Center Maine's Zach Blanchard introduces us to someone who had thoughts of suicide and acted on them. And while it did not end his life, it has forever changed it.
Tucked away in the backyard of his Biddeford home,
Bring here.
Aiden Campbell
You want it?
finds peace, playing with his dogs Winnie and Olive. Peace he never thought he'd have.
Just because of all of the bullying and not feeling like I fit in and just feeling really different from everybody, well, that was really impacting me and my mental health.
That's what high school was like for Aiden, a three-sport athlete, a good student. But he struggled to find who he was in a place that wanted him to be someone else.
I was just really depressed and didn't really know where I fit in.
Eventually, he says that led him to try to take his own life by jumping from a dam.
Luckily, I wasn't hurt at all, which was just kind of a miracle. And I hadn't told anybody at first. And then at school, a few days later, I had told one of the teachers that I had trusted in the guidance office area. And she had to call my mom.
Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that I would ever receive that phone call.
You know, my mom had just kind of asked, like a few days later, why did I do it? What was kind of the reason?
And it's been 10 years, and it still makes me emotional.
I had just told her that I was just really sad and felt like I didn't fit in and just kind of felt like I always should have been a boy.
Aiden is transgender.
I had no idea what that meant, and the first thought that went through my head was, if they've been bullying her at school for being a lesbian, what are they going to do to her now?
His mom, Sue, said she wanted to do everything to help her son, but admits it wasn't easy. And to make things harder, there weren't resources in the state.
There just weren't a lot of people who knew anything about trans mental health or trans health care.
We hear people say, well, this isn't real. It's a choice. It's a mental health illness. It isn't any of those things. No person would choose to live through the things that our transgender folks live through.
But that struggle brought them together. And now they're helping others. Sue is the executive director of the nonprofit Out Maine in Rockland, providing critical education and support to kids and families in rural parts of Maine, ultimately saving lives.
I get up every morning knowing that the work I have to do needs to be done because we can't lose another child.
Nationwide, LGBTQ suicide is reaching record levels. In Maine, 41% of LGBTQ teens seriously considered suicide in the past 12 months. That's 2,800 kids, enough to fill 58 school buses.
Maine is a mixed bag as far as what we do for mental health services and identity issues in particular.
Emily Costro is a school-based clinician with Sweetser. She works with kids where they are. And she says LGBTQ and minority students are particularly at risk. And the current political climate is having an impact.
Creates a lot of conflict. And I think that's what's one big factor that's caused more mental health issues is people decide that they don't like the same things, and that makes them feel isolated or undervalued. And that leads to not only depression and anxiety, but also some probably unsafe behaviors.
As for Aiden, he and his partner are set to get married this year. And he's now working as a licensed clinical social worker to help kids like him.
Just because those were the people who were most supportive of me in high school. And I knew I wanted to be able to give that back to other queer kids.
Help them find peace in being who they really are. In Biddeford, Zach Blanchard, News Center, Maine.
If you are a parent to an LGBTQ child, you can find out more about Out Maine and other resources in the state on our website and our News Center Maine app.
We'd like to thank everyone who spoke with us tonight about a deeply personal event in their lives, and to thank the folks at NAMI Maine for their guidance.
We end with a reminder that if you are going through any kind of mental health struggle, the Maine Crisis Line is just a phone call away. The number is at the bottom of your screen.
You can also get a list of mental health services in your county by either scanning the QR code that we've been showing you on our screen, or by texting the word HOPE to 828-6622. It will be a conversation that can be the beginning of a time of healing and a new life.
And it could all start with 4 simple words. Let's talk about it. NBC Nightly News is next, followed up by 207.
Good night.